for now, let's head into a quick wreck, or not so quick as the case may be, who knows, but it should be slow enough, sorry, short enough that we can get it done in the next sort of 35 minutes of real time. Alright, we're going to have a Hun War between Slam and Nikov. Been really enjoying Nikov's Hun Wars lately against a variety of opponents, especially Archcoven, as I keep mentioning actually when I cast them. Here we're going to see him against a different opponent though, in the form of TyRanT Slam, another TyRanT, and potentially, arguably a stronger one. Slam obviously being considered one of the best 1v1 players in the world and players in general. Doesn't always show that in tournaments, but you know, we always hope that he will turn in a good performance, and you know, we just get a little bit disappointed sometimes when he doesn't quite live up to his incredible skills. But anyway, we're going to have Nikov in the yellow towards the sort of bottom right of the map, and Slam in the blue colour towards the top left of the map, both playing Huns, as I said. And pretty open map in general actually for Slam. Looking at this, he's got one fairly decent wood line to the left of his TC quite close, but besides that it's looking totally open across the front. He's fortunate at least that he doesn't have gold mines in this sort of area where they could be dominated by that hill just in front. Actually his main gold is in quite a nice spot, and a second gold right towards the map edge, third one way out here, but at least it might possibly be TCable there. So, you know, gold positions here have been quite forgiving. Important to note both stones forward though, and a hill behind his lumber line is a significant vulnerability in his map, especially as it's like the only one. He wouldn't like to have to retreat up towards this or be sort of forced out towards the middle of the map to take these. For Nikov, things are looking a little bit more sheltered with multiple wood lines surrounding his TC. Brilliant back gold. He can even fit a TC there, I think, later on, which would be an amazing spot, protecting that starting wood line and TCing his main gold. But more or less everything else is forward. His third gold in particular is way out in the middle of the map, almost as close to Slam as it is to him, and he'll have to work hard to secure that later on in the game. There is this kind of big plateau area in the middle of the map, which I think will be a battleground as this game progresses. Moving, like, the right hand side is pretty congested, and some of it may end up getting walled off. Nikov may choose to send some walling vills out there a little later on. They're not that close to his base, so we'll have to see whether he considers it worthwhile to go and venture out there. But certainly in the late game, like if we get into the Imperial Age and there are Hussars running around and things like that, doing these sort of short wall-offs in parts of the map becomes much more viable and useful to stop your opponent just raiding you with Hussar spam from stables that have been built in like side parts of the map. That's always a good raiding tactic in a post-Imperial fight, to just go and sneakily build some stables on a different side of the map and then start raiding from there. And likewise on the left hand side, like, Nikov will likely see this as something he can wall up perhaps, if he chooses to play that way. I'm casting those games between Coven and Nikov. Like I was talking about, oh, they'll probably wall this and this off, and they never did. They played it very much kind of man to man, no walling. Just, you know, playing aggressive, trying to basically get the better of each other in terms of raiding. We'll have to see which approach these guys go for here. Looking at strategies, I should have checked out Nikov's wood line a little earlier to see how early he added a fourth vill to wood. Sorry, that's Slam's wood line. I should have checked out Nikov's wood line here to see how early he added a fourth vill to wood, to see what he's doing. Slam always goes 4 vills on wood. Every single one of his build orders is 4 vills on wood. It's perfectly viable to do scouts or anything like that, as well as drushing with 4 on wood. You do have to alter it a little bit from the usual. But Slam will go with a barrack, so he looks like he may be drushing. Same for Nikov, actually. Both players putting up barracks at around 6 minutes 30, which is a pretty standard drush time. Sending a villager out to get that 10 gold, obviously. Nikov starting to get some decent scouting information about Slam's map. Sees those forward berries, which would be a very useful place to hit, an easier place to hit than the wood line potentially with that drush. Slam may choose to just do a few palisades here to force a drush towards his TC if he scouts the barracks that's come up for Nikov. And therefore the berries will become an even more vulnerable target in relative terms compared to the wood line. But Nikov actually has 4 total militia queued up in his barracks at this point. Looks like he's cancelled one though. Slam on his way to the feudal age. So the barracks went up early, but not a drush strategy as such. Looks like he may be actually considering men-at-arms, sending 2 villagers out to gold as well. If we see a mining camp up there, come up there, we'll almost certainly be seeing that. Something I keep saying, but I think this kind of man-at-arms rush strategy is a real development in the metagame. I don't want to say in 2016, but just sort of recently, say, as compared to say 2 years ago. I started watching competitive AOC in 2013, and you never saw so much man-at-arms play as you do now. But Nikov going with a more conventional drushy, although he did click up shortly after that. So doing a drush flush type approach. Gonna come in and hit the berries. Slam will react with his villagers, and of course he was queuing up those militia as well on the way to feudal age, so he essentially has a defensive drush in place, but he'll be keen not to lose too much HP on that if his plan is to click the man-at-arms upgrade, as this mining camp would seem to indicate, and the 2 villagers on gold. He managed to push in a bunch of deer as well, I think 2 in total, judging by the fact that there are 2 left here. With that man-at-arms kicking his straight away for Slam on reaching the feudal age, Nikov is going to be a moment behind there. And Slam also goes for an archery range straight away. So it's going to be man-at-arms and then transition into archery range units. Slam taking this fight before... In fact, he cancelled his man-at-arms upgrade. Look at that. I was going to say he was taking the fight before the upgrade kicked in, but decided against it in the end. Decided to take the fight with the drush and save the resources and go straight into archers. Extra veals going out to gold, so it will be archers. Or at least some mix of archers with skirmishers as well. See how things are going for Nikov. 2 archery ranges as well, 3 villagers on gold. Pretty similar plays from both thus far. We did see Nikov go up a couple of villagers higher, so his economy will have been marginally stronger as he was progressing to the feudal age. And he got the better of the drush as well, actually got a full HP militia in the mix there, which will allow him to do some harassment. But the other one is almost dead, and there's a limit to what you can do with 1 militia. And Slam now is commencing archer production, so going to be pretty easy to pick those militia off actually. Nikov likewise kicking off that archer production, getting up his blacksmith as well. Both players will be looking to mass up a few before moving out. As we see Slam using those first archers to clean up the remaining militia for Nikov. Seems like Slam did a little bit of a better job on getting villagers onto gold earlier, which will probably allow him to keep up archer production in the early feudal age just that bit better. We can already see Nikov idling 1 range and throwing in a skirmisher as well, which isn't a bad idea if you think your opponent's going to go heavy archers. Then, especially if you are slightly slower in that transition into 2 range archers, then throwing in 1 or 2 skirms into the mix doesn't really hurt your ability to kind of attack a villager or something like that much if you just replace 1 or 2 archers with 1 or 2 skirms. But what it does do is enable you to take those fights at the start a lot better. It allows you to basically make up for the numbers deficit. We can see that Slam has the better numbers here, 1 more unit, but he would still lose out that fight pretty much straight off unless there was a big difference in the micro between the two players, just because of the presence of the one skirmisher, which is now doubled to 2. Pretty hefty wall coming out here for Nikov. It does provide some protection for this important area of his economy with 2 lumber camps and the gold mining camp here, but still there's a huge gap close to the TC that Slam could choose to get into that area if he wanted to, if he found his way over there. 2 armies disengaged for now. Nikov probably doesn't quite know where Slam is. In fact, the 2 players are going to pass by either side of this wood line just in front of Slam's base, and therefore probably end up hitting each other's economies whilst not having so much at home to defend. But this is really nice sense from Slam, just sending a couple of skirmishers, so switching up that production to the kind of defensive counter unit and then placing them on the hill. I mean, they will die pretty quick to this sort of army, but he would only have to bring 2 or 3 more skirmishers over from here, and he pretty much repel this pretty easily. If he manages to pick off like 2 archers as well from that, then Vils can start to mix into the fight as well. You see fletching and armor done for both players, so +1/+1. Slam moving in on this area of Nikov's economy here, and he's forcing a tower out of Nikov. Nikov didn't really have that kind of skirmisher defense in a strategic position that Slam had, and that's going to result in a couple of easy build picks whilst that tower goes up. Slam will start to sustain losses now, but that's 125 stone down the drain for a tower which may not have been necessary if Nikov had taken Slam's approach and kept a couple of skirms back, or even 3 or 4, but Slam likewise did invest in a tower over here, so that's actually even between the 2 players. Slam though managing to construct his tower without taking losses, getting it up well in advance, whereas for Nikov it was more of a panic response to these archers appearing in this location. It would have been nice if I'd have caught that just as Nikov appeared here and Slam saw it, whether that was an instantaneous reaction from Slam or whether he already got it up in advance in a kind of psychic way, if you like. For now, the population is pretty much dead even. Villager populations and military populations are no more than 1 difference between the 2 players. And as I said earlier, we are seeing very similar approaches here. Both players dividing army into small groups at the moment and looking to raid. This is going to be a nice little victory for Nikov though once he completes this trap. Brought another 4 units in from the northwest, and looks like he might be even out-microing Nikov out-microing Slam as well to actually take that fight without a single loss. Pretty nice result for him. But nonetheless, not a big difference between the 2 players. Wheelbarrow actually kicking in at more or less the same time for each player as well, so as I keep saying, oh look at this, Nikov missed 2 of his sheep on that oasis. But it hasn't slowed him down, as we say, because that approach is mirrored to the extent that the wheelbarrow timings are almost identical as well. And if we look at resources in the bank, it's more or less the same apart from a big gold advantage for Slam. He's actually floating at this point. If he had the spare wood at this point, then he could be thinking about producing from a 3rd range if he so wished, but not really floating the wood to be doing that at the moment. Looks like he's probably thinking about a tower to defend the sole wood line that he really has accessible to him as well. He's got a mining camp over here and he's sent a number of villagers to that stone. Obviously, if he wants to place TCs in the Castle Age, he needs to recoup that stone he spent on the towers. But this is a real vulnerability for him and probably is thinking of defending that with towers. It's also one reason why he's kept his army in a nice position on the hill there, and that army will be well positioned to repel this raid or this attack. It's because it's more than a raid, it's two large armies clashing here, but Nikov seems to have a tiny numbers advantage in this fight. Slam being the first to click the Castle Age though. Let's look at how far away Nikov is as the 2 armies disengage, actually clicking just as I say that, and floating a whole 500 wood. That will decrease as he dumps presumably at least another 2 archer ranges. There we go, 1, 2. Slam kind of struggling for wood at the moment. He's just about affording a third. But he may have some difficulty in getting a fourth range and maintaining production from 4 ranges at the start of Castle Age, as well as perhaps having his second TC time impaired if Nikov is indeed just looking a bit better on the wood situation. Both players have kind of disengaged because they both clicked up and will be looking to preserve their numbers in order to benefit from those Castle Age upgrades. You see that Slam's going to time it pretty much that he hits the Castle Age or sort of as his army arrives on the edge of Nikov's base, so pretty much as soon as he commences his attack, those upgrades will be kicking in shortly after, and he'll get the most out of his kind of surprise attack if he doesn't stray too close to Nikov. See what kind of line of sight Nikov's got. There's obviously not much for the palisade walls, a little more from the blacksmith. Looks like he didn't do town watch though. Defensively, Slam is looking pretty good though. Look at the amount of skirmishers he has on this hill here. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get elite skirmisher to really make that pay off. He sent all his skirmishers home and all of his archers forward. Yep, there we go. Elite skirmisher kicking in, as well as the predictable crossbow bodkin. And Nikov won't really have a chance of pushing in here now. He might get 1 or 2 snipes on the stone, but as soon as that elite skirmisher upgrade kicks in, that's really the end of Nikov's ability to do damage with this army, you would think. And even leather archer armor kicking in for Slam, so he's really investing in buffing out those skirmishers and crossbowmen. +2/+2, and the actual unit upgrade for both types of feudal archery range units kicked in there. Easy to break through that palisade, and now he's causing significant idle in Nikov's economy, as the idle's not only the main goal but also forces Nikov away from the lumber line, rebuilding lumber camps in new locations and looking to try and get Vil picks, but not really able to do that right now. Nikov also invested in the elite skirmisher upgrade because we saw both players actually make a lot of skirms in the end. And Nikov actually prioritised that over crossbow in the end. It's only just kicking in for him. And these walls are actually completed, which means that this army from Slam is dead. The elite skirmishers from Nikov will be able to chase those crossbows down so easily. So potentially an advantage emerging for Nikov in terms of raiding capabilities in a little while once those crossbows all go down, whereas his should escape to safety. Slam also going with ballistics, and he also did a second tower on this gold mine. Whilst we were concentrating on this, we actually saw some of Nikov's crossbow army sort of circling around the east side of Slam's base, but they turned away. They probably ran into that second tower and just thought, no can do here. And ballistics kicking in for Slam. It's kind of unfortunate that he's lost so much army, because he's not going to reap the benefit of that so much. He will move in with a lot of elite skirms, and that is an amount with bodkin and ballistics that will enable him to kill villagers pretty easily, as we see right there. But Nikov still retains the numbers advantage. And Nikov early university and ballistics as well, so both players really prioritising army on this especially open map for Slam, and not much thought of TCing it up just yet. Really nice positioning of these elite skirms though for Slam, idling and just making that wood line so inefficient. I mean, Nikov can drive that away with the units that he has, but it's you can't underestimate the value of doing that even for a moment when you didn't even lose a unit getting in and getting out there. Siege Workshop coming out for Slam, and he's actually at this point wanting to try and use that lumber line that is towards the middle of the map. And we did see Slam stopping a stable as well. I'll take a glance over Nikov's base right now to see if he did the same. I wonder if Slam's thinking of adding any knights to counter the amount of elite skirmishes on the field, or whether he did that stable just to get bloodlines. We'll have to see. For now, cavalry archer transition still somewhat dangerous when the enemy has elite skirm and ballistics. done. But Slam is going to try and trade Elite Skirm for Elite Skirm on the edge of Nikov's base, and if he does that, then the Cavalry Archer raiding could prove to be a bit more effective. It is looking pretty messy for Slam, as he kind of wanted to take control of that wood line in the middle of the map, and then being forced to go back here where he things are not optimal, to say the least. And we see another archer range coming out, so Slam's going to stay full aggression, go on up to 5 ranges at this point. These units being cleaned up. Nikov shooting up farms. Not a bad play when Slam is kind of struggling to establish an efficient wood gathering operation at this point and actually lay claim to a second forest whilst this one is more or less exhausted. Nikov's actually going to dive under 2 towers here, which is pretty brave, but he does get Vil picks, and those elite skirmishers are able to tank that fire to an extent. It looks like at least 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 there. Certainly 4. Decent return considering that he dived under 2 towers there. But he'll run into 2 more on his way through here. Issue with these towers though is it kind of makes the lumber gathering operation even more inefficient, considering the Vils have got to kind of swarm around the base of these towers. Slam will try and lay claim to the middle of the map though. I said earlier, this plateau with the important importance of strategic importance of the elevation plus Nikov's third gold mine, it would be important, and Slam does have 2 mangonels attacking from this position here, backing up his cavalry archers that he is producing from, or attempting to produce from 5 ranges. And those will essentially take out the elite skirmisher factor for Nikov if he keeps them firing in the right places. Firing at those massive skirmishers that Nikov still has on the field. And Slam also going to try and do a watchtower in a nice spot here really, because he'll probably hit this wood line a little bit, hit both gold mines, and it will be really help back up this attack. For Slam, this game is all about securing map control, because he's, having exhausted that first wood line close to his TC, is really struggling to have a safe wood gathering operation, and it's basically about keeping the pressure on Nikov's map because his is so open and so sparse at this point. Nikov has done Siege Workshop and a Mangonel to try and defend, but he's defending uphill, and Slam taking out that Mangonel without really sustaining any damage on his own Mangonels. The cavalry archers did the job. That tower will go up, and Nikov double TC in this area actually. That's pretty you don't see that every day, let's say. And looks like Nikov will actually go out there to that gold. Let's see, did he see it before? Yeah, of course he did. Mining camp there. Because he's being denied of his 2nd and 3rd gold at this point. And Slam actually going to be cheeky and steal it. Still plenty on Nikov's back gold though, and he's going to get up a Siege Workshop in the back and a 2nd TC. Kind of on stone and wood as well. Maybe we'll be looking to use stone fortifications, the tower, maybe in the castle, to try and halt this raid from Slam, or this push, should I say. Meanwhile, Nikov does still have a lot of army in Slam's base, but there's not a lot he can hit. There are towers everywhere. Really, Slam has moved a lot of the kind of effective part of his economy, and what I mean by that is it's wood and gold, which is what's being used to sustain this push. Slam has moved a lot of his effective economy to the middle of the map, and also to the left-hand side. So Nikov not really doing too much. He was going to try and hit this area from behind, but obviously walking past all of Slam's buildings to do so, and Slam spots that, peels off that group of cavalry archers to go deal with it, as well as putting a ram in front of all of these units, which was quite a nice play in case those units actually chose to engage the cavalry archers, because it would have required Nikov to really try and micro effectively with the ram being mixed in there. Nikov's still trying to do Mangonel defense uphill. Repairs are on hand for Slam and not going too well. I don't think Slam's lost a Mangonel at this point. Nikov's lost at least 2 and is sustaining a lot of damage to all of these structures. Can't think they'll last too much longer. things looking really good for Slam now. This push is going to be hard to defeat because he's taking over Nikov's extra resources, he's got the elevation, he's got the advantage of mangonel count, and so far he's actually making his mangonels work for him better. He's destroying Nikov's ones without losing his own. And, you know, cavalry archers can tank mangonel shots uphill, especially when the cavalry archers spread out like that and the mangonel shot only hits 1 or 2 of the CA. It's really not a big deal, but it's easy to take out those mangonels, and fairly cost effective as well. You're kind of losing half of like 2 cavalry archers, which when your hands doesn't cost a hell of a lot, versus that pricey mangonel. Nikov is getting ahead in villagers, no surprise because Slam went like 5 ranges earlier, so he's workshopping earlier, ballistics, went more aggressive, recognising that his map required that kind of approach. But the extra villagers for Nikov aren't really paying off at this point because Slam is the one with a much bigger army. No point in having economy if you can't support army when you're being pressured like this. Nikov basically down to 0 military almost at this point, and the idle villager difference as a result of Slam's like pushing and raiding, more or less equalising the villager count anyway. And this dive into the back of Nikov's eco, pretty effective for Slam as well, picking off and idling more and more vills. Has left his siege kind of unprotected on the front, but I guess he also senses Nikov doesn't have much at this point. It looks like Nikov's trying to kind of stop wasting resources almost to defend against this, and instead kind of almost relocate part of his economy and macro it out. But it remains to be seen whether Slam's actually going to let him do that. At the moment he's not. He's kind of peeling off into different parts of Slam's base, into different parts of Nikov's base, should I say, picking off villagers in double quick time and raiding very, very effectively. And Nikov, having built quite a bit towards the back here and been on stone for quite a long time with a lot of villagers, is going to try and halt this advance of Slam with the castle. If that castle goes up, it should stop Slam's push in here, but the thing is, Nikov has also created a lot of economic infrastructure out towards the middle and right of the map, which Slam could just switch his attention to, as he's already doing. I don't know if Slam actually saw that castle go up. Let's check his line of sight. No, he hasn't seen it just yet. So almost a sixth sense from him, but maybe he's also looking at the juicy target of this exposed town centre as well and deciding just to focus on taking that down for a bit. Nikov's going to do a siege workshop in that vicinity, try and do a bit of mangonel defence from there as well. With Slam moving off the elevation, he might manage to achieve that a little bit more successfully this time. But Slam's looking in good shape to continue this push. He's equalising the villager count. Well, he's maintaining it about 10 behind, but importantly for him, the idols have been minimal. Whereas for Nikov, it's 10 idols, 20 idols all the time. And Slam, with very few farms and pretty much everyone on wood and gold, perfectly poised to continue the push that he's executing at the moment. He's floating 1,000 gold at this point, so he's got gold for days. Raiding all the time, and as long as he continues to gather lots of wood as well, he can just add to the strength of this push so much. Nikov actually floating even more gold, so both players very, very gold rich at this point, but perhaps not gathering enough of the other resources to actually combine with that gold to make useful stuff. This is looking like the elite skirms are going to delay the deaths of all those villagers, or as they kind of flee out there. Maybe some of them will make it out alive with the elite skirms guarding their retreat. If those skirms hadn't been there or had just kind of walked past, then all of these bills will be down. But Slam is relentless. He's kind of deleted everything that Nikov had in this position, and he's going to turn his attention towards the top of the map, it seems. He kind of senses from the direction that those villagers ran that Nikov has something up here. Oh, he actually sees that TC. Looks like if you look at that line of sight there, looks like his unit just strayed 1 or 2 tiles close enough to actually see it. And he was going to go up there, but Nikov senses that it's over anyway. He's dropped to 89 population, which isn't a lot at this stage of the game. So, really, really great game by Slam. He's actually almost ready to click in. I want to check if he had a market. So he used threw up a market and balanced his economy out, bought some food, I would presume, to try and click Imp and deal the death blow there. If Nikov had hung around in the game a little bit longer, 3 minutes or whatever it takes to advance to Imperial Age, I almost certainly think he would have GG'd to punch seeing Slam hitting Imp. So really great game by Slam there. I like the fact that he looked at his map and thought, right, this wood line is going to get me through to the kind of Castle Age, and then after that I'm kind of screwed because I have no wood, so I've got to go all out to win this game. Correctly recognised this as the area to push from and take over, and basically did the bulk of his damage here, just like raining fire down with mangonels and cavalry archers, and Nikov couldn't defend against the hill. I think once he recognised that Slam was going that aggressive, Nikov needed to be a little bit more proactive in stopping Slam getting that hill, but really well executed by Slam there. Quick look at the achievements. I can see we've got 9 minutes until Master of Islands starts, which is perfect timing, really give me time to switch those scene elements on OBS over to the right players and stuff, the overlay, and we can dive into those island games in 10 minutes or so. Slam basically catching up on villagers. Trading much better on army, as you'd expect, considering he was clinging to that hill for most of the game and getting the better mangonel shots and doing a lot more villager raiding as well. Right, yes, there is some debate in the chat as to whether this is live or not. That was indeed a recorded game, but now we're going to watch Master of Islands between CZ Nazgul and Fox Mahori, and those are going to be live games. I'm going to throw up some music for a few minutes, and then we will return at roughly 21 GMT, which is in less than 10 minutes time, to see those Islands games live. So see you shortly, guys.